Good evening, Bahamas. Coming up tonight on our news.
A man murdered during a double shooting on Blue Hill Road. Plus, what prompted police to swarm the Montel Heights area?
Our news is brought to you by Alive.
Welcome to Our News and thanks for joining us. I'm Christina Dragovich. Topping news tonight, former Progressive Liberal Party Cabinet Minister George Smith is slamming what he termed the terrible selection process for national honors. As debate rages on over whether Sir Roland Symonette fits the criteria of a national hero, Smith asserted that neither Sir Roland nor Sir Cecil Wallace Whitfield deserve to be on that list. Jared Higgs tells us why.
I think we did a terrible job in the selection process.
Smith was adamant that politicians are too heavily considered when it comes down to the list of recipients of the highest honor of Order of National Hero. He criticized the selection process, saying only 2 of the 4 heroes selected were deserving.
I think 2 of them meet the standard. That's Sir Lyndon Pindon and Sir Milo Butler. The other 2, I think, do not meet the standard that I believe national heroes ought to be. It doesn't negate the fact that the other 2 did some good things. You know, the slave master sometimes treated the slave well, but he was still a slave.
Sir Lyndon Pinling, Sir Roland Symonette, Sir Milo Butler and Sir Cecil Wallace Whitfield were the 4 recipients of the highest honour, the Order of National Hero. Members of the PLP have slammed the selection of Symonette as revisionist and perverse. Sir Roland was the first Premier and leader of the United Bahamian Party, a group criticised for supporting policies that oppress black Bahamians. Prime Minister Dr. Hubert Minnis responded to criticisms and claimed that we must look past colour. Smith says that's a narrow view of looking at the issue.
When you get something for yourself as a people, after it is over, you fought for it and you were denied it because of race, you now want to forget what the struggle was about? Well, to forget that much of the negatives about our society historically was due to race. If we forget that, we do an injustice to our ancestors.
In a Facebook group discussion, F&M Chairman Carl Culmer blamed the PLP for the pre-majority rule oppression that black Bahamians faced, stating that the PLP made the UBP look like monsters. Smith says he remembers things differently.
So when you look at a country that is a predominantly black country, it is difficult for those people when they examine it to accept that they can consider a national hero a person who was the head of a racist, repressive government. Those who weren't around prior to 1967 couldn't remember, of course, when black people couldn't go to the theater on Bay Street. They couldn't work at the banks. They couldn't go and live in hotels in this country. Jobs were denied them.
We also got public reaction to the controversial issue, with people giving mixed views on whether Sir Roland Symonette should have been named a national hero. But do you remember Sir Roland?
Yeah, I remember Sir Roland.
What do you remember about him?
I know him as Pop Symonette, who had everything, big time UBP. That's about it. Like, as far as Roland Symonette being a national hero, I can't say that.
All I've heard as a young man growing up that Sir Roland was there for a lot of the young people that were coming up, young entrepreneurs, and they needed loans to get their business started. He was there for them.
Sir Roland did good, but he also did bad. And that's how it is with me. That's how it is with everybody. There's some good and bad. Some people, they see the good. Some people see the bad. But from listening to my older past, he was a good man.
So this is not a matter of skin. It's a matter of understanding what the reality is. And the reality is that back then, in the 50s and in the 60s, okay, my daddy couldn't go over, down on, listen here, 6 o'clock you had to be over the hill. I'm sorry, that was the facts. It's the way it is, okay? And I must walk around and pretend like it didn't happen? No. And now the persons that was a part of that won't be nominated for National Heroes Day.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Jared Higgs.
Meanwhile, Progressive Liberal Party Chairman Fred Mitchell calling for Free National Movement Chairman Carl Culmer to resign following what he labeled Culmer's ignorant comments regarding the United Bahamian Party. This as former PLP MP Alfred Sears warned the Free National Movement not to revise history. Sears says the fact that many black Bahamians could not attend certain schools or attain certain career goals under the UBP is not politics or opinion, it's straight facts. Giorgio Bain has that.
Amid public debate over the government's decision to award former Premier and UBP leader Sir Rowland Simonette with the highest honor of National Hero, former PLP MP Alfred Sears hit back at the Free National Movement, which suggested that the Progressive Liberal Party is playing the race card. FNM Chairman Carl Culmer has asserted that the PLP made the UBP look like monsters and accused the party of keeping black people in tough conditions. However, Sears cautioned the FNM against revisionism, warning that under the UBP, black Bahamians only dared to dream of the rights and opportunities that many take for granted today.
We have many of our people couldn't work in banks and financial institutions. We had one public high school, which was government high, and you had secondary education had to be provided primarily by the Catholics and the Anglicans and the Baptists through their schools, because the state did not provide fully for the educational advancement, especially of black Bahamians.
The PLP has formally condemned the decision to honor Sir Rowland as a national hero. However, Prime Minister Dr. Hubert Minnis encouraged Bahamians to move beyond colors. Well, Sears suggested that it's not a matter of race and it's not a matter of opinion. He said the exclusion of the majority of Bahamians is a historical fact.
That's not a matter of opinion. That's not a party position. That's a historical fact. And I think that as we reflect on the history of our country, we have to be honest and call it for what it is.
PLP Chairman Fred Mitchell also hit back at the FNM chairman, who he says is saying dumber and dumber things.
It is astounding to us that a man who grew up in the modern Bahamas could be spinning such untruths, falsehoods, and nonsense, trying to rewrite history about the Progressive Liberal Party, and suggesting that it was in fact the UBP that took the country to independence and developed all that we have here today. That is simply a bold-faced untruth.
Mitchell doubled down on his view that Sir Rowland is not a national hero.
Some of the leaders of the FNM were PLPs and helped to fight for the independence movement against Rowland Simonette. So he doesn't know what he's talking about. He's spinning nonsense. He's really shaming this generation of which he's a part, because it is the most appalling ignorance. And we can't support it, and we must denounce it.
While members of the opposition have come forward outwardly opposing the selection of the former premier as a national hero this week, Sears is calling for more variety in the selection process. On Independence Day, government announced the names of 38 Bahamians who would be honored. According to Sears, the national honors list is too heavily concentrated on politicians and lacks real people.
There should be diversity, because the contribution to nation building is made not only by politicians, but by persons in all spheres of life.
According to the National Honors Act 2016, a national hero must have seminal contribution to the Bahamas, one that has altered the course of history for the Bahamas in a positive way. Reporting for Our News, I'm Giorgio Bain.
In other news, 3 men are in custody after 1 man was killed in a double shooting early this morning. Police say shortly after 2 a.m., a man was walking on the eastern side of the Blue Hill Road Clinic when he saw another man being chased by a group of men. Shots were fired, and police say both men were shot. One of the victims died at the scene. The second victim was taken to hospital, where he was treated for a minor injury and discharged. Well, heavily armed police officers swarming the Montel Heights area around 10 o'clock this morning after reportedly being alerted to gunshots being fired. Our cameras were rolling as 8 units raced to a home behind this car wash off Robinson Road. Officers of the Drug Enforcement Unit and K-9 units were on the scene, where they arrested 2 men. It's unclear why the men were taken into police custody. However, Police Press Liaison Officer Superintendent Shanta Knowles says this afternoon Special Operation Teams and Mobile Division officers continue to patrol the streets of New Providence, paying attention to crime hotspots and prolific offenders. Meanwhile, 46 Dominican fishermen appearing in court Thursday charged with multiple counts related to illegal fishing. According to the Royal Bahamas Defense Force, the Dominican nationals appeared before Magistrate Cara Turnquest charged with illegal foreign fishing, possession of a grouper less than 3 pounds, possession of fresh crawfish during the closed season, possession of undersized crawfish, possession of prohibited apparatus, and engaging in illegal foreign fishing within the exclusive fishery zone of the Bahamas. Boat Captain Radhamis Hernandez was also charged with possession of an unlicensed shotgun and possession of ammunition. This comes less than a week after officers of the HMBS Madeira intercepted a 70-foot Dominican vessel near the Old Bahama Channel. Thousands of pounds of seafood were seized from that vessel.
Reporting for our news, I'm Christina Dragovich.
Still to come on our news, 2 rehab centers lobby for the decriminalization of marijuana. Plus, the Prime Minister pledges to keep Family Island residents more informed. That and more when our news returns.